Hey everybody, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program RP-0. We are picking up right where we left off last time, right in the middle of our very large, very crowded Mars window. This here is our BPR with Echo Upper Stage and the Chestnut Crude module sitting atop of that with its crew of 4 making its push to Mars. Our TMI burn, those 3 HG3, I think dash A engines have just ignited for the second time this voyage. Hopefully we'll be able to get at least one more ignition out of them to help perform our capture burn around Mars, although initial predictions are looking like it's actually going to be a bit more expensive than, well, what we initially planned, but I think we still have the Delta V reserves to make this a thing. We're just gonna, plot some. Well, we're gonna ship out extra fuel this window to bring to Harmonia Station to make sure that we can refuel this vessel and top it all off. Make sure everyone can get home safe. Although I do imagine they will be on station for at least one more Earth-Mars transfer window before we start sending people home. But a lot of that really depends on how successful our Mars surface program goes, Project M97. If all of that works out pretty well, then their stay might be extended. We might start cycling crew on the regular. We might just leave these 10 out there. There's 6 already on station. We're shipping out 4 more with this flight. So this will be the most crew we've had on a space station ever in the 600 plus episodes of this series. We did fly 10 Kerbals on a shuttle recently, but that was really just to make some money and for no other real reason. And looks like we do have an encounter with Mars. We're going to try to touch this up on RCS as much as possible. We do have a lot of RCS fuel, and well, if we get rid of some of it, it gives us more Delta V on our Hydrolox and our Kerolox stages in the future. So that's just bringing it in straight on the prograde vector. We will need to adjust radially, and we do have to be a bit more careful with these corrections, as we would like to come in as close to the plane of Harmonia Station as possible. That just makes that plane change maneuver after capture a whole lot cheaper, and that does save, that is like the biggest cost of rendezvous with the station other than the capture itself, is that plane change maneuver. It's a little easier on these propulsive captures because we get to dictate our altitude at our apoapsis after capture, whereas with Aero capture you're kind of like at the whims of the gods, as it were. So we did fire those engines one more time, 5 ignitions on these HG3s, so we should have 2 more in reserve in case we muck one up. We can hopefully still make that burn to capture, and yeah, it's about here where we're figuring out that it's going to be about 4 kilometers per second to put us into orbit. Of course, Echo Upper Stage is going to handle as much of that as it can, but the rest of it will be on Chestnut itself. And now for our second launch of the day. This is our first of 2, supply crawler modules. These ones are super mission critical. Well, really all 4 components, or all 3 components, all 4 launches are mission critical, but the supply crawlers, we're sending up 2 because it gives us the endurance on the surface we would like, but we could accomplish the mission with 1 if we absolutely had to. It does just limit our abilities on cool things we can do on the surface. So again, this is our new DN6 Delta with the 2 SRBs, the twin SRBs instead of the 6 SRBs, and the same kind of wiggly problem, which all of this footage has been sped up to run, I don't know, roughly 3 times real speed, which means I had to speed it up about 6 times the normal recorded speed, because that glorious yellow clock there makes a 10-minute burn to orbit take about half an hour. So, predictable things. The stage wiggle is a little overly obvious, but we are being absolutely aggressive in our gravity turn because, well, we got the TWR to do that, so why shouldn't we? coming up on booster sub here in just a couple of seconds. There's the last tank. Boosters are off, fairings are away, and now it's time to jump into the fairing and activate these radiators. Yeah, turning them on in the VAB does absolutely no good, but that's going to help keep some of that liquid oxygen in those Aero shell tanks for our final ditch burn to hopefully come down directly on target. Not too many good experiences with targeted landings on Mars. If anyone remembers our last Mars landing attempt, it was the single launch Mars surface base that we then had food drop missiles and that craft file was just buggered and also like 400 parts. So the frame rate on it was measured in, minutes, frames per minute. It was terrible, but a lot of the tanks on that didn't get filled up anyway, so we ended up, the surface base crashed, and we needed an engine instead of food supplies. So we landed 2 of them pretty successfully. I think they were about 250, 270 some odd kilometers off target after a rather extreme plane change maneuver to put them on said target. And while I was trying to fly 2 of them simultaneously, like switching back and forth, which really, when it came down to terminal descent for one, I forgot about the other and it crashed. But we did get one down successfully within 300 kilometers of target, and that is really not bad. That was probably, I don't know, 6 hours or so of letting Mech Jeb drive a rover to go pick up the parts we needed and then bring them back, which you can automate entirely. Thank you, Mech Jeb, for that feature that works. So I would say within 300 kilometers is about the window we're looking for when we land these things. Of course, if we can get it within 100 kilometers, I'll be super happy. If we can get it with anything less than that, 20, 30 kilometers, that's wonderful. I do realize it's going to be nothing like our lunar program where we're trying to land within 25 meters of our designated target, but we also don't have the rather unpredictable nature of atmospheric drag to contend with, and what we do have here is wobble under physics warp, which is super annoying, having to sit through this entire burn while it just kind of jiggles the top of that Aero shell rather irritatingly. So we did most of this in real time, which is why I've sped the footage up so greatly. But we are on our ejection burn now, coming through the last half of it. We should have just a little spit of Delta V left in this Delta upper stage. That will kickstart our Aero capture maneuver once we arrive at Mars, but it's also mission critical that it stays attached because those solar panels are what's keeping this whole thing powered up throughout this entire journey. So once we're off the solar panels, we do have RTGs internally, but the clock's kind of ticking. So we either have to ignore the craft until the very moment when it's time to do stuff, which is real annoying when you're trying to aero brake down to a specific orbit, or just jump back and forth and come back around to it when the time calls for it. So we are about to come up to our intercept with Mars, and boom, there it is. See, unlike last week, we're actually getting rendezvous, or at least close encounters. They do require some touch-ups, which is generally has not been all that bad. I guess, late into the window, we are coming up onto the day of prime efficiency, although unfortunately the craft that is most critical to doing anything, which is the Ascent Stage Shield Heat, codename Ash, that is the basket for the lander, it's not done being built yet. We still got like another week until that rolls off the production line, and then we need to roll it out to the pad. So unfortunately, that's probably going to have the most inefficient transfer of all of the craft we have going up so far. But I'm banking on it being okay because it is also the lightest thing we're sending out. I think the whole craft comes in at something like 90 tons, 80 tons, whereas the rest of these are the 112 to 130 ton range. So, maybe being that late in the window won't be the most detrimental thing ever. But we've got a pretty good alignment here. We've got a good telemetry. So on to our third launch of the day, and this is supply crawler number 2 of 2. Again, same vehicle, same flight profile, just launching about a day and a half after our first supply crawler. We're just going to let our relative inclination with the moon slide down to something that's a little more manageable. And yeah, those wobbles, man. This save file is really old, and it's not working super well anymore. We do get lots of neat, interesting physics bugs to help keep us all on our toes. Just a bit. Now this footage has been sped up about 4 times, which is bringing it pretty close to real time. That's the performance of 1.1.3 KSP. When you have a craft with a part count that's about 200 or so, and when you have 80 or some odd active missions that Remote Tech really likes to just... Remote Tech is the frame rate killer. These things just... well, it comes with the territory, and this is what I get for staying in such an old save. So we are leading into our gravity turn rather aggressively, and things are going pretty well. This vehicle has proved itself incredibly reliable. I was a little worried about SRP failures, and we know that those wobbles are purely cosmetic. They will cause absolutely no physical damage to the spacecraft or the launch vehicle whatsoever. There is SRB SEP. Those are down, away, and clear, and bound for the ocean, and now we will just lean in a little aggressively for gravity turn, because poor live streaming me decided that now was absolutely the best time to go take a much needed bio break, and so we just kind of set for the heading I thought we should be at when I got back about 30 or some odd seconds later, and well, I'll let old me explain it to you. Okay, I'm back. Hooah! Made it before booster SEP. Look at me go. Basically, the UA-1205 is supposed to be 74,511 pounds dry, so 1.5 times that converted to kilonewtons is about 500. Meaning their loose TDOR should be touched below 1.5, and your rocket is already at like 2. Time to AP dropping. Oh, good God. Thank you for the heads up. We need a tail stand. That is a unique problem. I overdid the lean in for my expected departure. Alright then. Well, back to something a little more normal. 45 degrees. Climb that time to apogee, please. Mission Control's absent right now, taking a dump. This is an emergency. Please leave your name and number in the date time of crash. Thank you. And thank you for calling CCSA. Your call is important to us. Goodbye. Hey, overheat warning. Overheat warning. No, 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 do not. 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 No. Well, it just wouldn't be a very good Mars program if we didn't have at least one RUD during the launch window, right? That's how I'm selling this to myself. Anyway, our last launch of the day is a Lima resupply pod on an old DN6 with the B upper stage. This is the one carrying kerosene and liquid oxygen to help refuel the Chestnut spacecraft so that they can make a nice return to Earth. We have the one on station currently, I believe, is topped off, fully fueled, and ready to return. Whenever we decide to bring the crew back, they can just go ahead and leave the station and come home. They should have absolutely no problem making a Mars-Earth transfer window at almost any available point. So they're good to go. The new one coming in is going to spend a lot more fuel capturing into orbit than the previous mission did. So they're actually going to need probably more than one resupply pod to get that craft topped off and ready to go. But booster SEP happened a while ago. Those are cleaning away. No SRBs on this old model. But we do have the old SAS gyration wiggle while it tries to resolve roll control that it had no business messing with in the first place. So we'll try to solve our relative inclination with the moon there as we go ahead and keep pushing this core stage the rest of the way to orbit, which I might just overshoot by a little bit. I think I got distracted on this one and wasn't watching for the camera change. Oh yeah, no, I let the apoapsis get way out of hand there. Over 1,000,000 meters or 1,000 kilometers, however you want to justify it, but 153 at the low end. So we'll have to see at what point our transfer burn takes place. And yeah, it's a little more than an orbit away. So we'll actually get a nice little bump in our delta V from the delta V we already spent. So should have just burned off the rest of that core stage. Maybe it would not have been so bad. However, when it comes time to orient ourselves in the direction, our solar panels not facing the sun. So we have no battery power, we have no comms, we have no way of orienting this thing into the sun so that we can get comms, arm the RCS, stage the engine, or light it, which is a pretty big problem for a spacecraft that's perfectly fine, just not getting any electric charge through those solar panels. So I think next stream we're going to have to do something about this. We've had some plans go off in chat about what we can do to salvage this mission rather quickly, and I think we've got a pretty decent idea of how we can do it. So I think that's going to have to be coming up in the next episode. We'll just have to see how our launch schedule wants to interfere with this going forward. But that's going to do it for this one, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out. I really do appreciate it, and I will see all of you in the next one. So until then, see you later.